right, heading out to Vermont from northern Wisconsin. I'm leaving from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin, which is up north just south of Lake Superior. And today we'll be driving up through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we'll see how far we get. And up in the North Woods, there's a lot of just dirt roads like this, fire roads really. Got about an hour into the trip so far, and I'm still in Wisconsin, but just barely. I'm about to cross over into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is a town called Ironwood, Michigan, you'll see in a moment, which is right on the shores of Lake Superior. There are a lot of gorgeous lakes around here, no doubt about it, and this is one of them in Wisconsin. In fact, there are 14,000 lakes here in Wisconsin, and this is one of them. So I'm sitting between the twin cities of Lake Superior, at least this part of Lake Superior. You got Hurley, Wisconsin, and that's downtown Hurley there. Then there's the Montreal River, which is the border between Michigan and Wisconsin. So I'm just about to head into Ironwood, Michigan. So moving through Ironwood, I am coming across Highway 2. This is the same highway as Route 2 in Vermont. It's the east-west highway that hugs the northern border of the U.S. and then the upper Great Lakes. So there's a lot of skiing up in the UP. The Porcupine Mountains are right here just outside of Ironwood. And I'm going to go check out something that's pretty cool. It's called Copper Peak. It is the largest ski jump in the world. Pulling into Copper Peak, you can see it there. This is a 180-meter ski jump. And to put it in perspective, the large jump at the Olympics, that's 120. So this is 50% larger than what you'd find at the Olympics. And this one is the world's largest man-made ski jump. All right, the chairs are spinning today. So let's go check it out. All right, here's the view from the top of Copper Peak, the ski jump. That's Lake Superior there. So here I'm at Black River Harbor in Ironwood, and that is Lake Superior. On this trip, I should be driving past all 5 Great Lakes. So here's the first one, Lake Superior, and I'm barely an hour into the drive. A lot of adventure so far. So still traveling through, whoa, check this out. Wild turkey. Well, so I'm still traveling through the Upper Peninsula. In fact, I'm just south of the Keweenaw Peninsula, which is the peninsula in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's the peninsula that sticks up into Lake Superior. And the Keweenaw Peninsula is regarded by some to be the most remote place in the lower 48 states. And the measure there is distance to the nearest interstate. So right now I'm probably 5.5, 6 hours from the nearest interstate, which is in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And so by that measure, distance to the nearest interstate, this is about as remote as you can get. Just pulled into Ishpeming, Michigan, still in the UP, home of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. So when driving through the UP and it's dinner time, you gotta have a pasty. All right, so across the street from the pasty place is this beautiful lake in Negaunee, Michigan. So I'll just have a little dinner here on the dock from Irontown Pasties. So here's what a pasty looks like. It is a delicacy here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And what it is it dates back to the iron and copper mines when people would be working underground all day. So they would bake these up and put inside it, it could be anything, chicken, beef, whatever. They'd pack that, it travels well, and they take it down underground with them into the mine, and this would be their lunch in the mine. So I'm driving along the shoreline here of Lake Superior, just east of Marquette, Michigan, and I gotta make some time. And the reason why is that the Mackinac Bridge, which connects the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula, is closing at 6 a.m. and it's reopening at noon. Every Labor Day they have a special close down the bridge so everybody can walk on the bridge event. And my travel plans will get thrown out of whack if I'm sitting waiting for a bridge to reopen at noon tomorrow. So I got to push forward tonight all the way to the Mighty Mac to make the crossing down to the Lower Peninsula. But in the meantime, it's a great view of Lake Superior. There's a freighter out there in the middle of the lake, and just an enjoyable drive. Notice anything? Yeah, we're going straight. This is one of the longest straightaways in the eastern United States. 25 miles, no turns. I think there are two in Florida that are a little longer than this one, but this is right up there. This is called the Seney Stretch. We're heading into Seney, Michigan in about 25 miles. Well, there's the moon over Lake Michigan. And I'm just pulling into Mackinac and the Mackinac Bridge. So I'll get across it before it closes, which is a good thing, huh? And this will be a cool drive. I've not been on this bridge before. It's the longest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. Day 2 of the drive to Vermont, and another day of gorgeous weather. So I spent the night just north of Saginaw, Michigan, and I'm coming into Saginaw right now. Been on the road already for 530 miles, 535 miles perhaps, and we still have 150 miles to go to get to Ontario. So today I'm going to be rounding the bend at Saginaw, then heading over to Sarnia, Ontario, and cutting it through Ontario, through Toronto, Ottawa, and then Montreal. And it should be a great journey. I don't have a firm destination for tonight. We'll just see where the day takes us, which is the way a road trip should be. So I'm right here on Lake Huron now, just a couple of miles from Canada. I'll be going through customs soon. In fact, you can see the Canadian shore of Lake Huron there, and busy day at the beach. We've got all kinds of stuff going on, including a freighter heading out. Made it across the border. Couldn't have been easier. And it's nice to be here in Ontario. A lot of truck traffic lined up. Something tells me, as easy as it was to get into Canada, coming back to the US is going to be a bit of a chore. I'm a mile or two into Canada already, and the trucks are just backed up, trying to get into the United States. There was no line whatsoever to get into Canada. Downtown Toronto. Pretty cool city. Lake Ontario from downtown Toronto. It's a little less painful than what I was expecting. So $86.91, but that's Canadian, so that's about just over $60 US. And anyway, there you have it. And it's the start of day 3, camping outside of Ottawa. Good night's sleep. Time to pack up and get back on the road. So when you cross over into Quebec, all of the road signage changes. I mean, you can see the stoplights have got 2 red lights, and then when it turns back to green, you'll see it blinks like that. All the street signs, for the most part, are in French, and totally different feel up here. Here's the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. This was the home of the 1976 Olympics. And then after that, it was used by the Montreal Expos for a few decades of baseball before they moved to Washington, D.C. and became the Nationals. And in Montreal, there's a neighborhood called Old Montreal. And Montreal is one of the oldest cities in North America. It dates back to the 1640s. And today it's about 80% French speaking. And as you can see, Old Montreal, everybody says it's just like Europe. It certainly is. Narrow cobblestone streets, very cool place to go. And there's the Port of Montreal. Of course, it hits the St. Lawrence Seaway and then out to the Atlantic, so there's a lot of stuff happening in town here. Heading south out of Montreal with about 22 miles from the border. Blue skies ahead, but out west coming in, we got a little bit of a storm. but unless I get held up at the border, I think I'm going to beat them. I'd forgotten how flat it is in Canada, right down to the U.S. border. And then once you cross the border, you're almost into mountains immediately. So it is pretty incredible. So we got the Adirondacks in New York State, and of course the Green Mountains in Vermont. And I'll be back in the U.S. in about, well, now 17 miles. I mentioned the mountains in the United States, and you can see them coming into play right here. Still about 12 miles from the U.S. Here we go. A 1,000 feet from the United States.
Speed bumps ahead.
All right, I'm going to turn this off and go through customs. So coming back to America could not have been easier. Quick zip right through. There were no trucks backed up, which is a lot different than Michigan. I mean, there were probably 10 miles of trucks backed up. But here, it was quick and easy. I'm standing in Port Kent, New York, looking at Vermont. And so you can see right now, well, you can't see Mount Mansfield. Mount Mansfield is getting doused with rain right now. Looks like pretty heavy rain over there. And then just to the south, I think that is the mountain called Camel's Hump, and it's getting nailed by a storm right now as well. So Vermont is picking up some moisture, but it is dry here in New York. And that is the shore, the Vermont shore of Lake Champlain, which is just an enormous lake. It's about 10 miles across from here to Burlington. And as I aim further north, you get to the islands of Vermont, Grand Isle and South Hero. You can catch the ferry between Plattsburgh, New York and Vermont. I am standing at the old Port Kent ferry dock, and I parked right at the ramp. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised they don't even have a chain up there. Well, let's go check it out. Curiosity killed the cat, right? Might as well see what's going on with this. Yeah, unbelievably, it just looks abandoned, but without even any chains or anything. But if I, in the old days, you know, was going to Burlington, I could drive onto the ferry right here. And here we go. From the days of the ferry, welcome to New York State. And I'm just going to turn and go up this road, because a few houses in, this is where my grandmother spent a lot of time, and my mom too, when she was a kid, would come here. And it is quite a house, I'll tell you that. It was built by relatives well before my grandmother's time. In fact, a relative of ours, Peter Comstock, built it. So, what are the odds that you would see 2 world-class ski jumping facilities over the course of a couple of days? Pretty remote, but hey, it can happen. So the other day in Michigan when I was at Copper Peak, that jump is 180 meters. That's 50% larger than the big one here. The Olympic standard is 120 meters, and that's the big jump. And then of course they've got the smaller jump off to the side as well. Day number 4 on my way to NALM, and this is stop number 2 in Lake Placid this morning. We were over at Mount Van Hovenberg, and now we're over at Whiteface Mountain. Whiteface, of course, is where all the downhill skiing, well, all of the skiing events were held here, and just an amazing place. And in a few minutes, we're going to drive up to the top of Whiteface, up to what they call the castle. Gorgeous day looking across to Vermont, and there's Mount Mansfield. That's where Stowe Ski Area is, and in the foreground Lake Champlain, which stretches all the way up to Canada. We go on our way to Vermont. Is Vermont and the islands. We're going to be laying in a Grand Isle. Route 2, Highway 2, what's the difference? In New England, it's Route 2. So now I'm on Route 2. I was driving Highway 2 through most of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And, you know, it gets discontinued at the eastern tip of the Upper Peninsula and then resumes again in New York State and cuts through New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So back on Route 2. Closing in on Burlington, should be there shortly.